Okay. In anticipation of our class on October 4, I wanted to walk through what you need to do. There seems to be some concern about quartiles, so I wanted to try to actually just get us to the point where we have analysis by quartiles. And I thought what we do is look at, is there a relationship between the poverty rates and the incidence or the prevalence rate of HIV and AIDS in the states. Particularly for my question, I'm going to ask whether there's a can we see any relationship between men who are poor and their HIV rate. So I've already downloaded from the Kaiser site the 2016 poverty rates, and you'll notice that they're in proportions for male, female, and total. And what I'm now going to do is minimize that for a second, and I'm going to go back to my Kaiser State Health Facts site. State category is HIV and AIDS. They have estimated numbers of diagnoses. This is a good case going back to Rich's question about using rates. What I want to do is use the estimated rates per thousand. And for this, I'm actually going to go ahead because for right now, let's just start with, excuse me, let's just start with the rates by gender. And we are told the data are downloading, and here they are. So now I can download them by clicking on the download, and it will give me an all-new Excel sheet. And here they are. And these tell me the rate per 100,000. Now it's important because I'm going to change these back, the poverty rates back to percentages. But it's important to note that that these are actually in rates per 100,000. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and highlight these. And actually, I'm going to minimize that for a second and go back to my state rate to see what is on this. Are my, and because I don't want to confuse, actually, that's the wrong one. Glad I did that. So already, raw data 1, I want to name. And so I'm going to name the file. I'll do a save as and just save it to my desktop. And we will call it state poverty by gender 2016. Okay, great. Now let's go and go back to, and let's name raw data 29 and give that a name, which we will call HIV per 100, state HIV per 100K. And we'll also save that on my desktop. Okay. So I actually don't care to have all of the American Samoa and so forth, which is in there. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and copy from the location down. And you will notice that the rates are given for 2015 here. That's worth footnoting for in your actual work. Then I can combine the two pieces of data, hopefully. And hopefully that works fairly well. It looks like everything is in an agreement. It is. So now I can begin cleaning this up, and I want to actually make sure I know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to say male HIV, female HIV, and total HIV. And then over here, I'm going to call it male poor. I'm going to abbreviate female just for because of the length. And then I'll call that poverty rate. Okay, so now I don't need two state columns, but actually it doesn't matter. So let's first sort of assess what happens with male poverty and male HIV. To do that, if I go ahead and copy the male poverty rates, which are proportions here, so double click and then copy. Now I'm going to go create a second sheet, and I'll put that over here. Now I'll go back to my first sheet and copy the male poverty. And I'll go to my second, in what is now being called sheet 1, and put the male poverty, or put the male HIV in there. Okay, so now I have 3 columns, and I'm going to make the first column twice as wide so that the District of Columbia and United States all fit on there. The second thing I'm going to do is transform my proportions into percentages. And to do that, if you go to Format Cells, Number, you can make it a percentage. We'll just say 1 decimal point and see what happens. Okay. So now, what I was mentioning before, so at this point, we're ready to start to move to quartiles, and there seems to be confusion about the interquartile range. And actually, what we want to know are the first and fourth quartiles. So that's all I'm going to sort of aim for right now. Now, to do that, what we can do is now don't click the United States, but we can go ahead and copy and paste all 3 cells on the same sheet again. Just come over to any column you like. I chose column F. Again, I'm going to double the width of column F so that it's nice and big. Now, with these, I can go ahead and there's 2 things I can do. One is I can go ahead and move them up so that they start at the top row, which is just a little bit easier. But 2 is if you go to Data, you have this sort option. And we actually are going to, so actually now I want to undo my last paste, and I want to undo I don't want to undo column width, but so let's just get rid of this and get back live. I do actually want to copy and paste the location, male poor, and male HIV. So I'm going to put that in the top column. There. Okay. Now if you highlight from F2 down to H 52. Oh, darn it. Of course, it won't quite do it for me. One more time. Okay. Now in Data, I can go to Sort, and that should bring up a dialog box, and it lets you choose the column. I want to sort by my causal column, which is poverty. And so I sort male poor, and I actually want to sort from the poor, I can do it either way. I can either sort from the least poor to the highest poor, or I can go from the highest poor to the least poor, or to the most poor. So I'm going to go ahead and sort by largest to smallest. The most poor will be at the very top, and the least poor will be at the bottom. And what I see is that male poverty rates range from 16 to as low as 4% in New Hampshire. Now, what I really care about are the first and fourth quartiles. And in order to deal with that, what I'm going to do is highlight them with a color. And because we only have 51 observations, then I know that if I get I can choose 13 observations for the top, which takes me from 2 to 14. And I can just highlight those in any color I choose, like green. And I can also do that at the bottom, working back from 52. I could go, if I go to 40, or I start at 40 in Oregon, that tells me the lowest quartile for poverty. Now, you'll notice that it is a little slippery because there are several states at 8%, but we want to not make this. And I'm going to highlight them in blue, and that's the fourth quartile. And so to do that, I'll just sort of put a little notation here for poverty, and I'll put up at the top that this is the first quartile. Sorry. And that organizes my data, and I want to stop this video here now, because now what I can do, and I will do in the next video, is do the means based on the cause and the mean response and discuss through that with you. So let's just